movie, we are introduced to the main character, Jung, who has a strained relationship with his wife. One morning, Jung leaves for the office without having breakfast, which further spoils his wife's mood. At the office, one of his employees informs him that most of the shops in a particular area have been vacated, but a few tenants are still refusing to leave. Jung is determined to clear the area for a project. He instructs his assistant to expedite the process and ensure the remaining shops are vacated quickly. Afterward, Jung heads to meet his father-in-law to discuss an important meeting. It is revealed that all of Jung's business ventures are under his father-in-law's control. Jung stops at a restaurant to eat before meeting his father-in-law. At the same restaurant, a high school student named Kim is also dining. While there, Kim receives an urgent call. When he gets up to pay the bill, he realizes he has forgotten his wallet at home. The restaurant owner reassures him, saying, "Don't worry, this gentleman will cover your bill." She then turns to Jung and asks him to pay Kim's $100 bill. Shocked, Jung looks at the bill and exclaims, "How can one person eat so much food alone?" After paying the bill for both himself and Kim, Jung gets into his car and heads to meet his father-in-law. However, he soon gets stuck in a traffic jam. Frustrated, he steps out of the car to make a phone call. Meanwhile, Kim is attempting to retrieve a shoe that got stuck on the roof of a nearby building. While trying to balance himself, Kim slips and falls from the building, landing directly on Jung. The impact knocks Jung unconscious immediately. When Jung opens his eyes, he finds himself in a hospital. A nurse asks, "How is your health now, son?" Hearing this, Jung is startled. He is 35 years old and wonders why the nurse is calling him son. He quickly gets up from the bed and goes to look at himself in a mirror. However, as soon as he sees his reflection, he cannot believe his eyes. In the mirror, Jung sees the same high school kid, the restaurant kid whose bill he had paid earlier. Due to the fall where Kim landed on him, their souls have swapped bodies. Jung also sees his original body lying in a coma, with Kim's soul now inhabiting it. Kim's father comes to meet him in the hospital, but Jung, now in Kim's body, ends up speaking nonsensically to him. The doctor explains that Kim has lost his memory due to a head injury, which is why he is behaving erratically. Later, Jung goes home to see his wife, but she becomes frightened upon seeing him in Kim's body. Although Jung tries to explain everything, she doesn't believe him. Instead, she calls security and hands him over to the police. At the police station, Kim's father arrived to pick up his son and apologized to the officers for the situation, explaining that Kim's memory was failing because of his head injury. He then took Jung, who is now in Kim's body, to Kim's house and cooked a huge amount of food. When Jung saw all the food, he told Kim's father that he didn't normally eat that much. However, Kim's father replied that he usually ate even more every day. Soon after taking a small bite, Jung lost his consciousness. When he woke up, he was shocked to discover that he had eaten all the food by himself. The next day, Jung goes to eat lunch at school. As soon as he sits down, the other students around him quietly get up and move to another table. From this, he realizes that Kim might not have been very popular in school. While eating, he notices a group of students harassing a girl named Hyun. Seeing this, he tells them to stop. However, one of the boys turns to him and starts threatening him. Just as he is about to hit Jung, a teacher arrives and stops the situation from escalating. Before leaving, the boy glares at Jung and tells him to meet him outside. When Jung goes to meet the boy is surprised at how Kim suddenly has so much courage. He tries to hit Jung, but Jung slaps him first. Seeing this, the boy's friends rush in to stop Jung, but he takes them down as well. That night, Jung visits his assistant at the hospital and tells him that he is actually dumb. His assistant doesn't believe him since Jung's real body is lying in a coma right in front of him. However, when Jung starts revealing personal details that only the two of them knew, his assistant finally believes him. The next day at school, Jung talks to his assistant on the phone. While they're talking, Hyun accidentally bumps into him while running, causing her teddy bear to drop. Jung picks it up and chases after her to return it. As Jung hands the teddy bear back to Hyun, her mom arrives to pick her up. Jung is stunned. The woman is Mi-sun, his first love and ex-girlfriend. Overwhelmed, Jung calls out her name, but Mi-sun dismisses him, scolding him for disrespectfully calling an elder by her first name. Hyun tells her mom that Kim has lost his memory due to an accident, which is why he doesn't seem to remember anything. Later, Sung starts wondering if Hyun might be his daughter. Wanting to be sure, he secretly takes a strand of her hair the next day and gets a DNA test done. When the results arrive, his suspicion turns out to be correct. Hyun is his and Mi-sun's daughter. Overjoyed by the news, Sung feels a deep sense of happiness, realizing that he now has a daughter of his own. The next day at school, some girls bully Hyun, but Sung sees everything and steps in to stop them. After school, he asks his assistant to teach those girls a lesson, but his assistant refuses, saying that they shouldn't do such things. Sung eventually agrees with him and instead decides to go meet Mi-sun. Sung talks to Mi-sun about Hyun's situation at school and convinces her to let Hyun learn self-defense so she can handle her problems on her own. In reality, he is simply trying to fulfill his duty as a father. He gives Mi-sun the address of his own gym and asks her to send Hyun there. That evening, Mi-sun sends Hyun to the gym, but she has no idea that Sung is the one behind it. When she sees him there, she asks what he's doing. To avoid suspicion, Sung tells her that he joined the gym to lose weight. From then on, they begin training together. Hyun focuses on improving her fighting skills, while Sung works on reducing Kim's body fat. After days of hard work, Sung helps Kim lose all his excess weight, transforming him into a handsome young man. When he returns to school, everyone is shocked by his new appearance. One day, Hyun takes Sung to her house, where Sung sees many childhood photos of Hyun. Captivated by them, Sung takes pictures on his phone and happily looks at them again and again while at school. Meanwhile, at school, the same group of girls tries to bully Hyun again. However, this time Hyun stands up for herself and fights back. Seeing this, Sung feels genuinely happy because he had always wished for Hyun to learn to protect herself. At night, as Kim's father was on his way home with his salary, a group of men suddenly caught hold of him and began beating him. They were debt collectors, attacking him for failing to repay his debt on time. Just then, Sung arrived at the scene. Seeing Kim's father being assaulted, he immediately rushed to help. However, the goons turned on Sung as well, mercilessly beating both of them. After leaving them battered and bruised, the debt collectors warned them to repay the money soon before walking away. Later that night, Sung sends his men to the debt collector's house to teach them a lesson. His men beat them mercilessly, warning them never to go near Kim's father again. Terrified and humiliated, the debt collectors are left with no choice but to stay away. The next day, Sung visits Mi-sun at her restaurant. While he's there, some customers start harassing her. Furious, Sung orders Mi-sun to go inside. As soon as she does, he unleashes his rage on the troublemakers, beating them so badly that they flee for their lives. Mi-sun comes out and asks him who he really is and why he repeatedly calls her by name. Sung cannot control his emotions and tells Mi-sun the truth. However, Mi-sun does not believe him at all. To prove his truthfulness, Sung tells Mi-sun where they met for the first time and when they broke up. After hearing all this, Mi-sun believes him, but after knowing the truth, she asks Sung to leave the restaurant. Actually, Mi-sun is very angry with Sung because, in the past, to become a big businessman, Sung left Mi-sun and married the daughter of the chairman of his company. He left Mi-sun for money, a decision he regrets to this day. The next day at school, Hyun's crush invites her to a party at his house, and Hyun is very happy to hear this. On the other hand, Sung calls Mi-sun to a restaurant to talk to her once again. At the restaurant, Sung apologizes to Mi-sun for everything that happened in the past. However, Mi-sun tells him that if he had not come in Kim's body, he would never have come to apologize to her. Sung falls silent after listening to Mi-sun, and seeing his silence, Mi-sun begins to leave, but then Sung catches hold of her and kisses her. Mi-sun, angered by Sung's action, slaps him. Outside the restaurant, Sung and Hyun start arguing. A few moments later, Sung receives a call and learns that some boys and girls are harassing Hyun at a nearby location. Sung immediately drives to the scene in his car, where he finds Hyun being bullied by her crush. It turns out that Hyun's crush had invited her to the party solely to humiliate her. Seeing his daughter in such a distressing situation, Sung becomes furious and starts beating up the boys like a man possessed. Inspired by Sung's actions, Hyun also gathers the courage to stand up for herself and, together with Jung, teaches her crush a lesson. The next day, Jung discovers that his wife has accused him of usurping their property. Furious, he writes a letter to his father-in-law, accusing his wife of having an affair and embezzling money from his company. On the same day, a girl proposes to Jung, but he politely tells her to go home and focus on her studies. Before leaving, the girl gives him a gift and walks away. Just then, Hyun arrives and asks Jung how he feels about the girl, whether he likes her. Jung firmly denies any feelings for the girl. Hearing this, Hyun takes the opportunity to confess her own feelings and asks Jung to become her boyfriend, insisting that she knows he likes her too. Confused by Hyun's words, Jung immediately leaves the scene without responding. At home, Hyun confides in her mother about her feelings for Jung. Mi-sun becomes furious upon hearing Hyun's confession and sternly warns her to stay away from Jung. The next day, Mi-sun confronts Jung and starts arguing with him. She demands to know what he has done to Hyun that has led her to consider him as her boyfriend. Jung insists that he hasn't done anything inappropriate and explains that he is only trying to protect Hyun's. While they were talking, Hyun arrives and asks what they are discussing alone. Unable to hold back any longer, Jung confesses that he loves her mother. Shocked and heartbroken by his revelation, Hyun turns away and walks off sadly. Mi-sun asks Jung why he said such a thing. Jung explains that he felt he had no other way to change Hyun's feelings and stop her from pursuing him. Later in the film, a mysterious assailant attempts to kill Jung in the hospital. However, Kim regains consciousness, but in Jung's body. Confused and desperate, Kim escapes from the hospital and rushes straight to his father's house. When his father sees him, he is terrified, as he doesn't recognize the man standing before him. Kim reassures him, explaining that he is indeed his son, though he doesn't understand why he now looks so different. Soon after, Jung arrives at the house. Kim is shocked to see his original body standing before him and is equally puzzled by how handsome he has become. Jung then explains everything to Kim's father. To prove his identity, Kim shares intimate details about his childhood. Convinced by these memories, Kim's father finally believes that his son's consciousness is now in Jung's body. Jung pleads with Kim to help him. He dresses Kim up to look exactly like himself and takes him to meet Mi-sun. Kim, now in Jung's body, apologizes to Mi-sun, pretending to be Jung. Mi-sun, unable to recognize the truth, believes that Jung has returned to his original body. As they are talking, goons sent by Jung's wife arrive to kill Jung once again. Seeing them, Kim hides behind Mi-sun and begins to cry silently. Mi-sun immediately realizes that this cannot be Jung. The real Jung steps forward, instructing both of them to go inside, while he stays behind to confront the goons alone. The goons begin to brutally beat him, leaving him severely injured. Just as they prepare to kill him with a knife, Mi-sun rushes out from the kitchen with a gas cylinder. She opens the valve and threatens them, saying that if they don't leave within 10 seconds, she will ignite the gas, causing everyone to perish together. Terrified by her words, the goons immediately flee the scene. Overwhelmed with emotion, Mi-sun breaks down. She confesses that she has waited for Jung for the past 14 years, but the endless waiting has exhausted her. Unable to hold back her feelings any longer, she embraces Jung tightly, her tears flowing freely. The next day, Jung's father-in-law calls his daughter to meet him. He shows her the letter written by Jung. After reading it, Jung's wife questions how Jung could have written the letter, as he is currently hospitalized. Her father explains that the letter was written a month ago. Caught off guard, Jung's wife accidentally admits, "I wasn't having any affairs at that time." Realizing the truth in Jung's accusations, her father decides to call Jung to meet them. Shortly after, Kim arrives at the location in Jung's body. Meanwhile, the real Jung sits in a car nearby, guiding Kim through earphones on what to say and do. However, their connection suddenly breaks, leaving Kim to make his own decisions and handle the situation alone. Jung's father-in-law offers him the position of chairman of the company. However, Jung's wife interjects, arguing that Jung also has a daughter, so why should she be the only one blamed for their problems? Kim, still in Jung's body, defends him by explaining that he was unaware of his daughter's existence until recently. He adds that upon meeting her, he realized the importance of family and no longer desires any property, as his family is all he needs. After delivering this heartfelt statement, Kim walks away. Once outside, Kim recounts everything to Jung. Moved by his words, Jung embraces Kim in a grateful hug. But just then, Jung's wife attempts to run Kim over with her car. Reacting quickly, Jung pushes Kim out of harm's way, saving him, but ends up getting hit by the car himself. The scene then shifts to a hospital. There, Hyun visits Jung, who is lying injured in his bed. In a weak and emotional state, Jung reveals the truth to her, confessing that he is her father. He pleads with her to forgive him for not being present during her childhood. However, just after this heartfelt confession, both Kim and Jung suddenly fall unconscious. In a dramatic twist, their souls are exchanged once again, returning to their original bodies. The movie then jumps forward 5 months. Kim has returned to his original body and resumes his life as a student. At school, he has become incredibly popular, with many girls vying for his attention. However, Kim only has eyes for Hyun and spends all his time with her. Meanwhile, Jung and Mi-sun have reconciled and are now living together. They manage the restaurant side by side, rebuilding their relationship. The movie concludes on a heartwarming note, with all the characters finding happiness and fulfillment in their lives.